In that article, you argue that oil and gas executives could be prosecuted, not just sued, but criminally prosecuted for homicide, for murder, based on climate change. Is that right?
That's right. I mean, I would be careful with the wording because...
Your position is this is a reasonable and rational thing that we should put the people leading the energy companies in America, producing 8.5 million jobs, we should arrest them and throw them in jail. Is that correct?
It could be the case that some executives should be prosecuted in that way. Of course, you can't put a corporation in jail, so there are other remedies in that situation.
But you can put human beings in jail, and presumably you'd put the corporate officers in jail.
Yes, you can.
You'd prosecute them for murder. So don't let there be any ambiguity. And by the way, Senator Whitehouse was really eager to make clear that you're the minority witness. You're the witness he wanted. He was eager to introduce you. I'm going to go on the record as saying that is a moonbeam wacky theory that you want to prosecute people creating jobs and producing energy for murder. Let me ask you.
In a Senate hearing that quickly turned into a fiery showdown, Senator Ted Cruz unleashed a blistering cross-examination against a radical left-wing witness who made a stunning claim that oil and gas executives should be prosecuted for homicide over climate change. Yes, homicide. Buckle up as Cruz slices through the hypocrisy, exposes the double standards, and puts a spotlight on the terrifying implications of criminalizing energy production in America. It all began with a jaw-dropping article written by the witness titled, "Climate Homicide, Prosecuting Big Oil for Climate Deaths." According to the witness, oil and gas executives should not just be sued, they should be criminally charged for causing climate-related deaths. Cruz, clearly stunned, asked the obvious question, "You want to lock up the people producing energy for murder? Let's dive in."
One final bit of questioning for you, Mr. Arkush. Define for this committee what homicide means.
Oh, sure. So homicide is a legal term that refers to, it's essentially a blanket term for any form of unlawful killing. And an unlawful killing is causing death with a culpable mental state. Causing a death means substantially contributing to it or accelerating it. And a culpable mental state could be negligence, knowledge, recklessness.
So you wrote an article in 2023 entitled, quote, "Climate Homicide, Prosecuting Big Oil for Climate Deaths." In that article, you argue that oil and gas executives could be prosecuted, not just sued, but criminally prosecuted for homicide, for murder, based on climate change. Is that right?
That's right. I mean, I would be careful with the wording because murder, again, is a technical term. And definitely we're not arguing that they could be prosecuted for first-degree murder. That's killing with, intent.
But you want to put them in prison for homicide, lock them up, treat them as criminals, put them in. Murderers people who commit homicide get put in jails with violent criminals. And your position is this is a reasonable and rational thing that we should put the people leading the energy companies in America, producing 8.5 million jobs, we should arrest them and throw them in jail. Is that correct?
It could be the case that some executives should be prosecuted in that way. Of course, you can't put a corporation in jail, so there are other remedies in that situation.
But you can put human beings in jail, and presumably you'd put the corporate officers in jail.
Yes, you can.
You'd prosecute them for murder. So don't let there be any ambiguity. And by the way, Senator Whitehouse was really eager to make clear that you're the minority witness. You're the witness he wanted. He was eager to introduce you. I'm going to go on the record as saying that is a moonbeam wacky theory that you want to prosecute people creating jobs and producing energy for murder. Let me ask you, Mr. Arkush, how did you get to the Capitol today?
So, here's what I want to tell you.
How did you get to the Capitol today?
I took an Uber.
You took an Uber.
Yep.
Now, was that in an automobile?
Yes.
Did that automobile have gasoline in it?
Yes. This is very, very cute. I see where this is going.
So I'm glad you think it's cute. Under your theory, you emitted carbon emissions.
Yep.
Should you be arrested in this room right now and prosecuted for murder?
No.
Why?
That's not what the law holds.
So tell me why, because you're willing to say the guy who sold you the gasoline should be prosecuted for murder. You're the one that benefited from it. Couldn't you have ridden a bicycle or maybe like some fairy dust to get here?
The guy who sold the gas and 50 years ago knew that it was going to cause globally catastrophic damage that would cause problems for humanity.
But you have exquisite knowledge of this. You were saying you were an expert. So on mens rea,
I'm not done.
You have a level of culpability because you claim that the act of getting in that car was violence, it was murder, that you should be locked up. Why do you get to violate these principles in a way that you just want to lock up the person who sold you the gas, but not the beneficiary of it?
That's your claim, not mine, because to be liable, there are a bunch of reasons, but one of them is you have to substantially contribute to the harm, to the death.
Okay,
and
so
I am
how
not
how many car rides is substantially? Is it one? Is it two? Is it 10? How many?
A single individual couldn't possibly contribute enough. The point is...
Well, what about if, say, you're a Democrat politician who
do you
flies...
actually, do you want me to answer
What about if you're a Democrat politician who flies private jets?
It would be helpful if you're asking the questions. Doesn't he get to answer them?
Yeah.
He gets to answer them in my time, just like he gets to answer them in your time when you are asking them.
Seems like I don't get to answer.
So what about Democrat politicians who fly private planes all the time? People like John Kerry, who say, for someone like me, a private jet is the only reasonable way to travel. John Kerry has the climate footprint of a small town in Tennessee. Would you prosecute John Kerry for murder?
So depending on how you calculate it, U.S. fossil fuel or the oil majors, private oil majors, are responsible for around half of global emissions.
My question was, would you prosecute John Kerry for murder?
Obviously not. No.
Okay, so Democrat politicians are exempted.
There is no individual...
Democrat activists are exempted.
I'm not going after people for carbon footprints. The whole thing is actually...
Well, why not, though? Under your principle, carbon is killing us. You claim it is homicide. By the way, this is a whack job theory. You teach in law school. If one of your law students wrote this on an exam, any law professor... General Kobach, you were a law professor for years. If I wrote, it's homicide, lock him up, what grade would you give me and why?
It wouldn't be a good one. And
Senator Ted Cruz didn't just question a radical witness. He dismantled an entire ideology with logic, precision, and unapologetic truth. In a room full of political theater, Cruz brought the facts and exposed the dangerous precedent being pushed that energy producers, the very people who fuel our economy and support millions of American families, should be treated like criminals. He didn't allow the witness to hide behind academic jargon or activist talking points. He called out the hypocrisy of using gas-fueled rides while calling for gas sellers to be jailed. He spotlighted the absurdity of letting political elites off the hook while targeting hard-working Americans who keep the lights on and the country moving. Cruz made it clear, common sense must prevail over climate extremism. His relentless questioning reminded the nation why leadership grounded in reason, not radicalism, is more important now than ever. In that hearing, Ted Cruz wasn't just defending oil executives, he was defending every American who's tired of being demonized for simply living in the real world. And for that, he deserves applause, not attacks. Ted Cruz didn't just expose a radical theory, he exposed a movement that would rather punish success than solve problems. He stood up for the people who keep America running, from truckers to engineers to refinery workers, and refused to let ivory tower activists rewrite the definition of justice. If you believe in common sense, in freedom, and in the right to speak the truth without being labeled a criminal, this hearing was your moment. And Senator Ted Cruz, he was the voice of reason that cut through the insanity. If you stand with Cruz and believe America needs more fearless truth-tellers, hit that subscribe button now.